This conference will now be recorded.
Delay. So, because if you hit the thing, sometimes it can pick up a double paragraph.
This conference will now be recorded.
Great. Okay, the time being 7:04, we'll bring the 10/21/20 Tilton Budget Committee to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to move the review of the minutes to after our interviews, because there's quite a bit of minutes. I haven't had a chance to read them. So how does the board feel about that?
I'm good with that.
Okay, great. So we will start. We have Don Schimberg, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And we have Ted Gargano, Catherine Dawson, excuse me. I'm sorry. Bill Lawrence, Christine Dembitsky, and John Scanlon, and Janice Delacroix.
It's nice to see you all. Thank you for having me here tonight. I would.
Oh.
Okay, with me tonight is Jesse Renaud Smith. Jesse is the vice chairman of the YAP board. We have Troy Kennett, who is also on the Assistance Program Board. He is the principal of the middle school here in town. And we might have Jen Adams. I know Tim was trying to help her connect. I don't see her. Would I see her if she were here?
Yes. I would assume that.
Okay, so she might pop in remotely, and Jen Adams is the chairman of my board.
Okay,
So,
great.
so that's who you have. I will start. If it is agreeable to you folks, I'll just start with a little update.
Sure.
Okay. So I'll start with COVID-19. Youth Assistance Program has was able to handle its business, its client interactions and meetings remotely on Zoom. It was a pretty smooth transition. Of course, the kids were all pretty good at technology anyway, so I was the one I was worried about, but it went smoothly. We were able to hold juvenile review boards remotely and also group meetings. So that went well. That was for the first couple of months. In the beginning of June, I was able to start seeing clients. We did a lot of outdoor meetings, which was very nice. And eventually we're able to transition to having kids back in the Youth Assistance Program office. And the other day I had 3 kids all at once, because they were all in the same family group. But it was like it felt like a little bit of a crowd. But it's been nice, and we've been able to maintain our business. So that part's very good. I know there's a question that I am prepared to address, and that is the COVID relief funds and any kind of COVID assistance we've been getting during this period. As you probably are all well aware, there is or was a nonprofit emergency relief fund issued by the governor. And we did look into that. Youth Assistance Program didn't qualify because it was for 2020. And you had to be, either you had to be able to show a loss of revenue for that year from the beginning of March until December due to COVID-19, or you had to be able to show increased expenditure due to COVID-19. So we didn't have that this year. Our plan going forward is to just kind of keep an eye on what kind of assistance is out there and what we might qualify for. I had talked with Tim about that because some of it was projected. And so we wanted to know going to December, financially are we sound, and we were. On the other hand, though, we were able to apply and receive a state incentive grant that turned out to be $32,000. I got the figure right here. $35,768. That is for the fiscal year. So it actually started July 1, and it is done monthly as a reimbursement. So the state has, I think we applied for as much as we could get. We still got a fair amount, and it covers expenses that the town would ordinarily have to cover. So it is for operating expenses. And what it boils down to for the town of Tilton is since July 1 until December, it's going to be just a little bit under $8,000. And then it will be that same amount starting January 1 going to June 30th. We will reapply in May and hopefully be able to help use that assistance. So, are there any questions on any of that?
What would you use that for?
That the money coming from the state is to offset the costs of the program to the town. So Bill, you may remember the county incentive funds years ago. The town would appropriate the full amount, and then whatever we got, we would take off our bill. So I quarterly send a request for appropriation. So whatever I receive for that quarter gets subtracted from that amount.
Okay, great. Is that reflected in this budget here tonight, or is that not?
Well, it's not
Germane.
reflected in there. I think I've made mention of it. I think on the cover page, I did say we were getting that funding. So the budget we're asking for is the budget in full because the state does stipulate that this might go away at any time. Okay, so as it was, now that we've got 3 monthly checks, I'm still pretty psyched about that because it's nice to have it all set up and working the way it should. So the budget we're presenting or we're asking for is in full.
Okay,
And then the money we receive from the state will be subtracted from that.
from next year, or?
It will be subtracted from January 1 until June 30th.
Okay, so,
The state has that fiscal year.
okay,
Then in May, we will reapply. And, you know, we should be able to qualify again. We are in good standing. We have our accreditation up to date and all of that. So we should be able to receive more funding in May that would then go to the next fiscal year.
okay, great.
I'm glad, it's a big help.
Yeah, that helps. Any other questions from the board, or
Of
Christine?
course. When you said that on that state grant you got, we're going to be subtracted from your full budget, what are you going to return money to us, or how are you going to do that?
Well, ordinarily, every quarter, I just send in a notice, you know, this is what's appropriated, and this is the amount that we're requesting.
From us?
Okay, yeah, and we do it
Oh,
every
okay.
quarter.
Okay.
So now there's another little column in between that will say, this is how much the state is putting in towards that quarter, and then your amount is lesser.
Okay, I didn't know you requested monthly. And when you came up with you're allocated 35,000, how'd you come up with Tilton gets 8,000?
Well, Tilton gets 8,000 only for half of that year. Okay, so totally you would get like almost 16.
17.5 is half, but Northfield is
Yeah,
more
Northfield,
than,
due to the population of the schools, Northfield pays more towards the program at this point, and so it's divvied up by that formula as well.
did you get the PPP loan?
We did not,
Did you apply?
no.
I see the bank account is up.
And I have a question, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The PP, is that the program?
Payroll
the
protection
payroll
program,
protection?
which is, you get to not pay it back, especially if it's under 50,000, but. you
Okay,
can
and
apply
I
there.
didn't even know that that was something nonprofits could apply for.
Oh, maybe it doesn't relate to, it's from the SBA, so maybe it doesn't relate to nonprofit.
I'll double check that
Okay.
because if there is,
Yeah,
you know, like I said.
because that would have paid for payroll.
Mhm.
Interesting, we'll have to remember that. I see the bank account is, got a good chunk of funds in there. Is that because of the extra money coming from the state? I mean, it's got 85,000 in here. Or did you not have as many expenditures during the COVID part?
It is a big combination of things. One of the reasons why, there's a number of reasons why we're not requesting more this year. And one of the reasons is because we did underspend in some categories. And that
Not
was,
much. I looked at the P&L, the profit and loss, and there was only a few items.
okay,
And it's still a lot of money in there.
okay. The program is also built to carry us through for those first 3 months, okay, pending the approval of the budget. And so if for some reason it didn't go through a town meeting, we would then have funds to cover those first 3 months and then to wind down the program. So that's a part of it as well. Another thing you might be seeing there, Christine, is that we are working with Stand Up Winnisquam, which is the Prevention Coalition. They received a grant for $5,000 from Franklin Savings Bank, and we're serving as a fiscal agent and their new home because the systems of care grant has changed. So that's new for us. I think our board felt very strongly that that was a good connection, and it just made sense to put that together.
Is your program completely remote right now?
No.
So you do see some of the children in person or whatever you need to do?
I do.
And that's how you're gonna continue, it's not gonna go completely remote and.
It won't go completely remote. I think the main reason is because it's such a people program. I mean,
Right.
so much is just relationships. I had 3 kids in today and they were just carving a pumpkin and just, to do things in person, I think is huge for our kids.
Yeah, okay. I think that's it for now.
Anybody else? I'll open it to any public comment or questions. Hearing none. I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I do have brochures if anybody's interested.
Okay.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Don.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thanks, Don.
Okay. Okay, so we're on to the Park Cemetery with Judy Huckins. Come on up.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, as can be.
Jamos.
Yes. Okay, you represent the Park Cemetery?
Yes,
Would you like to give it a little spiel?
I don't really have one.
Okay.
This is completely different. I have.
Yeah,
been
have
here
you
for 5
ever
or
come
6
here before?
years. No,
No, that was,
yeah.
but, see, I guess maybe we should just ask questions. Anyone have questions?
I need a minute.
Sure, maybe you could say what you actually do. In case anybody doesn't know. I know, but.
No, our budget mainly consists of the maintenance of the cemetery. It's open from April 1st to November 1st. We've basically been running on the same budget for a lot of years. We've had an unusual year this year. We have sold 22 lots. I think that's the most we've done. One year, I think it was when Ebola struck, we sold 26. And this is the first time, and since then, that we've sold record amount of lots. But that's basically what we depend on is Tilton Trust Fund, which is our largest money. The 2 towns, Tilton and Northfield, and then our burials. And our sale of lots.
And you're expecting a drop in your trust fund?
Well,
fund?
actually, we received more money this year. We received, I think, about $5,000 more than what we normally have been doing.
Okay,
Last year, we received 9,000. This year, we received 14. We never know. For the past 11 years, it's gone anywhere from, in 2010, it was 19,000. And for 2016 and 17, it was only 8,000. So we never know from year to year. So
I guess that-
everything, you know, we work at the cemetery. We have a full-time section. And if we're fortunate enough to hire somebody part-time, they'll work 20 hours a week. And we just work until the money's gone. That's all we can do.
Right, right. Well, it's,
I have a question.
go ahead. Kristen.
One of the questions shows that your actual expenses are down. Obviously, you got more money for your actual budget for 2020. And you said you got 14,000 extra from the other item?
No, it's like
Yes,
5,000.
but this budget is,
5,000
the budget you have right now is only until September 30th.
Oh, the actuals 9.3, 9:30, okay.
The year to date is just until 9/30,
Okay,
because we had to have it in early.
right, but you received the funds in 2020, so regardless when this ends, the extra
Right.
money's in there.
Right.
So none of the funds for Tilton or Northfield from 2020 were returned?
No,
Okay, so we have a carryover of extra funds.
well, we're hoping to, we need to put a new roof on the maintenance building, which is going to be about 2,500.
A new roof.
A new roof, yes.
And I saw the machine rental is up. What are you predicting?
We don't always rent the machine. It was a backhoe that we rented to remove dead trees and shrubs this year because we did have the extra.
No, it's up for 2021.
Oh, because it's up for 2021?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because we're hoping to remove additional shrubs and dead trees. The cemetery has been running on a minimal budget for years, and because we did have some monies, we're trying to do projects that we've never been able to do before.
Right. Invested funds, those aren't your bank accounts. I don't see what you have for your assets here, just income and expenses.
Invested.
What your current balance is in your operating account?
Right now in the operating account, the current balance is 17,000.
Down at the bottom, there's the invested funds on that.
Yeah, those are invested funds, but not her usable funds.
Right.
Correct, yeah.
Last year, balance on hand as of 2019 was 700 and change, which is usually anywhere between $700 and $1,400 we have at the end of the year. Like I said, we just happened to sell an extreme amount of lots this year, which doesn't always happen.
Right.
And we buried a lot of people. We've had 22 cremations and 7 burials this year also.
You said you serviced Tilton and Northfield and no other town?
Those two towns are the two that contribute to our,
But so this other,
the cemetery is open to anybody that wants to be buried
okay,
there.
okay. So savings is liquid funds. The CD, is this liquid funds or is it?
The CD, on the
Can't take out.
perpetual care funds, the 2 CDs,
Yeah.
the 2 funds, the principal cannot be touched.
Just
Usually
interest?
it averages about $2,500 a year in interest that we are.
What's your term? Is it on like a 25-year or what kind of CD do you have that you can't touch the principal?
Oh, we can't touch the principal because it's a perpetual care fund.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They used to
It's
be
like
in
the children.
stocks. They used to be in stocks, and then I guess the transformation when they put them into the CDs. I used to be a trustee of trust funds, and I know I went through.
Right, we still have the Tilton Trust funds. This
Oh.
is separate. We no longer put our perpetual care monies into the Tilton Trust. We started.
Okay, so this is new funds. from the ones that I dealt with,
10, 15 years,
you know,
yeah.
40 years ago.
We still have monies in the actual Tilton trust funds, which was, part of the perpetual.
Right.
So that's not listed here, the Tilton one?
Tilton trust funds is the interest we got, is the
In the income.
14,000 in our income.
Oh,
We have no idea how much actual principal is in there. It's a combination of library, several accounts that belong to this Tilton trust.
investment fund, I'm assuming that's your investment account, so that's difficult.
There used to be a bunch of stocks and bonds, and
Yeah.
then I remember we brought it to a bank because they didn't want just us, a person like me saying, okay,
Oh, have an access.
yeah, I'm not gonna invest anything. So they wanted to get more active investment, so took it to, I think it's the Laconia Bank or something, and to try to create more return. And so I'm not sure what's happened since then, but
What about this equipment fund?
Equipment fund is, our lower loan average is about $10,000 for
Purchase equipment?
purchases.
So you
like a
use it-
capital equipment fund type of thing.
Yeah, we try to put $500 a year into it.
So you could actually pull from there for this new roof. I mean, put it a while ago, because the roof is 2,500.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Something?
Then we'll open it to the public. Pat?
No, I think Tim wants to say something.
Okay.
He had
Yeah,
his hand raised.
yeah, I was trying to just interject that the funds that you were referring to are, the trustees have them at Charter Trust, and there's total market value as of the end of the third quarter is $765,000. 53% of that is in equities, 40% fixed income, and 7% cash and equivalents as of that date. And it's not all cemetery. The beneficiaries aren't all the cemetery, as Judy said, that there's the library, some local school, churches, welfare. There's a number of other things, but the majority of the income is distributed to the cemetery. The only thing is that the bonds, I think the highest bond right now is 5.5%. Most of them are in the 3% range, I want to say, and but the fund has grown because of the percentage of equities. So if that helps you any.
Do you distribute it to the cemetery monthly, yearly? How do you distribute them?
The trustees do that annually. And only the income can be distributed.
Thank you, Tim.
Yep.
Any other public input, questions? Hearing none. I think we're all set.
Well, thank you.
Thank you,
very much.
Judy.
Thank you.
Wasn't so bad, huh?
No, they
You
didn't
come
do
back
that.
again?
No, it was it was good to see you guys. Been a lot of years.
Yeah.
Better here than over there.
All right.
Great.
Thank you, Judy.
Waypoint is actually child and family?
Are you Waypoint?
I'm Waypoint, and we were child and family until 2.5 years ago.
Right. Great.
Should I join? or-
Come on up. Yeah. We'll check in with Janice here, make sure that she's all set.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah, it's way at the end. I was looking at, I was trying to find it on this list, and it wasn't Waypoint. Waypoint's in parentheses.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
couldn't
it's
find
gonna be
it.
child and family. We just changed their name a couple years
Okay.
ago.
I believe they changed the name as soon as when I first came on the board.
Yeah, it was,
Janice, are you all set? We've got,
Thank you.
we've got Waypoint up here now. Okay.
Yeah, we changed it because we kept getting confused with the state and Child and Family Services there. And so people would Google, our name and find that. And so we were getting flooded with phone calls, which were either bomb threats or like, you took my kid away from me. And we'd be like, that's not us,
So you are Paul Stoller?
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks.
And my appeal to you tonight, and listening to my predecessor, there's a very interesting need for a town, which is to support a cemetery, is more generalistic than a lot of the questions I think are being asked here tonight. We supply services across, social services across the state. We're New Hampshire's oldest social service agency. We were born in the mills of Manchester and Concord in 1850. And we have a vast array of programs that we offer across the state. Specifically, I think you have before you the people we've served in the town of Tilton, which will fluctuate year to year depending on references and need. So you can see in this past year, it was 21 individuals total across the programs of family support, family counseling, individual services, Camp Spalding, early supports and service partners, and help and parenting. That number could go up to 40, 50 next year. It could go down to 15. And so in a way, as opposed to the more granular appeals that I think you hear a lot of, I come before you appealing. Generally, we go to the towns that we serve and say, can you help us meet these needs? I will say to you honestly, it's not tethered to a specific number insofar as if you fund or don't fund us, we're not going to pull out services or not pull out services. It took me 3 years to learn that, as opposed to trying to argue, well, I don't know, if a kid wants to go to Camp Spalding next year, we're not denying them. And so it's more of an appeal of, I don't know what to say. Maybe you understand, because I listen to a lot of questions, it's quite valid and they're very interesting. I don't think I can answer to the same extent that you might anticipate. I will say it's been a fantastically rough year. It's been, that's a news flash for all of you in case you weren't aware. It's been a rough year. Our population of people has been hit really, really hard. 90% of our population live poverty or below. And I imagine that's 8,000 people statewide. I imagine most are pretty close to it. Of the remaining 10%, most are pretty close to it. We've closed family counseling, which is the second item, the programmatic item I have on the list for you, because it wasn't viable anymore. We will probably close Camp Spalding, newsflash. I guess we get reported, but anyway, don't tell anyone. But it's very likely we'll close that too, because it's just, we can't afford it anymore. I think that's it on this list. We also got rid of a program, voluntary services. So I guess I'm saying that all to you because it's not unimportant that I appeal. I mean, relative to some of the other people who are asking you for money and relative to our budget, I can understand where you might look at it as a specious request. But I tell you, we do eliminate things when they don't become viable. And my job here tonight is to appeal to you, I guess, to ask Tilton for its portion, quote unquote, its portion of our expenses for operating here.
Yes, we understand, yes. So you're saying that your business is transforming? So
our business is transforming hugely right now. We have, I would say, new management, which is about 3 to 4 years old, which is beginning to look at things that aren't working, that are serving, like, for example, voluntary services is a wonderful program. It is the supervised visitation in contentious divorces, and by contentious, I mean contentious divorces. And it supervised the safe visitation of child and a strange parent, which, let's face it, is usually father. And it just didn't make sense. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, it's $3,000 a visit. We've been sustaining that, but we can't anymore. So the management is thinking, however, we are expanding boldly in other ways, some of which don't impact, one of which would impact Tilton in a larger sense, which is we're about to embark on we've become really, well, we've always been really interested in child abuse prevention, and we're going on a statewide program to prevent child abuse, which I could describe to you in greater detail, but it's about looking at families where there's been referrals, but not demonstrated abuse. And so we want to go in there early and begin, because we know if a family is referred, it's kind of the adage where there's smoke, there's fire. Chances are there is, once, twice, 3 times, and then finally they're in the system. We want to meet that upstream. So we're expanding in those ways, but contracting in other ways. I'm sorry if that was your question.
Well, no, I think generally it was just seeing how it was transferring. I mean, there's a lot, we entertain a lot of businesses sort of like you. I mean, they're in different, the family services, different aspects of that. So many times feel like we're getting requests that different agencies are doing the same thing. And I'm not saying that it's not needed. I'm saying we're just, so that's why I just was curious about what way you seem to be transforming the.
Yeah, and transforming, and I will say it's both an advantage and a disadvantage in this conversation as far as we're statewide. So while the contribution we're asking for seems modest to you, it's important to us, but what we're doing is, so for example, we're instituting a program. Also, another transformative thing we're doing is we're working with children of incarcerated parents. So there's, I think, 15,000 children of incarcerated parents that's past and present children. So it could be that your father was incarcerated 10 years ago, yet the indicators suggest that this is a population that's highly vulnerable. These are the kids who come to us later in our youth resource center as runaway and homeless kids. So can we meet them upstream? And that's a statewide, my point to Tilton is that's a statewide program. I don't know how many kids in Tilton we're going to serve that way, nor do I know how many kids in Tilton will serve with the voluntary services program, which is where families been. Yeah, sorry, if you understand my point. I mean, I don't have an exact amount. We're a statewide agency, so when you ask questions like, I'm sorry.
That's fine. No, that's good. I will, any other questions?
Of course.
Yeah, Christine, I've been afraid of you all night. And I have a daughter, Christine, and so
The best
I'm
name
afraid
ever.
of her as well, so this is part of the course.
You didn't state whether you received any outside assistance that was COVID related, PPP, any grants?
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't. We have received, payroll protection we received to the tune of like, I think 1.1 million because we employ 300 employees, of which we fired no one. And then individual foundations, I've been in transactional grant writing process to a little more than $100,000. So I will give you an example. The Bean Foundation gave us, I think, $15,000 for us to buy food cards because, again, this is not a Tilton question, but statewide we deal with homeless youth. We found an enormous need to give them burner telephones so they could stay in touch, data plans so they can stay in touch, because what these kids would do would be go get free Wi-Fi from a public space. Now that public space is closed down, they don't have free Wi-Fi, they don't have a phone, they don't have a way to reach out to anyone on these nights. And so so that was a big grant for us in that way. Food cards, because what we found in the most touching detail about that was not only you think you give a homeless kid a food card because they can go get food, that is cash money for them when there's couch surfing. I come to you with $100 worth of food card, you get a place to stay. And so that's one of those transactional. So we raise money towards that kind of thing. The other thing is, on the other end of the spectrum, one of the things about our business is we have, we provide service and then it grows into case management. So for example, we serve about 800 senior citizens who are over 65, impoverished, many of whom are homebound, many of whom have disease. We provide anything from light housekeeping to intensive nursing. And what we found is a lot of the cash we could raise was for them they can't go to the grocery store anymore. They need somebody to go and buy. They need a cab. You know, our home care worker needs a cab to go to the grocery store to purchase the groceries that they can, they can no longer afford. So we've used that. I think it's like $102,000 worth of grant raising that I did to either things specifically like the homeless youth aspects, like food cards and the phones and the communication devices, or on the other end, the older. I don't know specifically. And then of course PPE equipment. And we're very well stocked with PPE equipment because we believe, there's going to be another wave.
Right.
And I don't even mean to be political. It's just more people are going to get sick, and that's going to be a problem. So we bought up on the protective facial devices, the uniforms, for our home care workers, because we're protecting two. And I'll stop talking truly in a second. We're protecting the two sides of the equation, which is the people we're visiting. I mean, we have a home care worker moving from 10 different locations in a day. That home care worker could be, if infected, that home care worker is working through 10, of the demographic that's exactly the type that's going to get infected. So we have no infections for COVID among our clients or our home care providers. So
since you have some home care, did they get the additional, because the nursing homes and medical facilities all got that extra pay for
the CARES Act money? No, we
yeah, okay. And then
we did not apply. We felt like we did not do this frivolously.
Right, you had the PPP, so that,
we had the PPP, which covered payroll, which
right.
was a godsend.
The homeless youth, I hate to ask this question, but are the majority of them or not, drug addicts or whatnot?
I can't, that's not among our, I understand person to person, that's a completely valid question. We do not ask them that when they come. In fact, we ask them nothing when they come in.
Okay.
So the point is we offer food, shelter, clothing, computers. We offer coaching for getting jobs. Okay. And what we hope is we have 2 full-time, completely licensed caseworkers on staff. If they choose to open up a case and say, hey, I'm addicted to drugs, we can refer.
Help us out.
We can then help work with them. If they choose not to tell us that, we don't. I mean, it's not. It's not on the questionnaire. But it's also interesting. You should ask because I'm sure conversationally a lot are. Waypoint does not do drug direct. We do the fallout from drug addiction. We don't counsel drug addiction because it's just a whole beast that,
Yeah. And I think this would be my final question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
You're showing 21 Tilton served, but I don't see how many. I see their funds from the other sources, but what is the biggest town you serve and about how many individuals?
Well, that's a tough question. Off the top of my head, I would say Exeter. Because we have an office in Exeter and we work quite closely with the Richie McFarland Center in Exeter on the Seacoast. And I couldn't tell you, but I think it would be in the hundreds.
Okay.
Again, I can go back and see if I can run that number for you.
Okay.
Manchester, actually, quite frankly, although we don't apply to the town of Manchester, and I think it's because, I don't know why we don't. I've asked this question before. I don't know why we don't apply for city funding. We get funding from the city of Manchester in other ways for like a runaway homeless youth center there. And they might think that that's it, but it doesn't count as town funding. I suspect the biggest number is from Manchester, which is.
Okay, so you don't apply, you don't ask for funds from every single town in New Hampshire, obviously.
I would like to.
You should.
I would like to. It's just manpower.
Okay.
But Manchester is a different story, and I don't know it completely. I think they transfer funds to us for specific needs in other ways, such that we're not exactly. But I can. That's a narrative I need to
ask about.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? I'll open it to the public. Any questions from the public?
I have no questions. Thank you, Billy.
Okay.
That's what happens when you ramble on like.
Yeah.
Thank you for your consideration and
Thank you.
we
Great.
appreciate it. Times are tight. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good
Have a good night.
I know, right?
Hey. Community Action Program.
Hello,
Come on up.
how are you guys?
Good.
Good to see you again.
Yes.
Well, at least eyes, right?
I haven't shaved, so that's why it look all patchy.
So I actually have an addition to the information that you guys received.
Okay, let me see. Now we have Beth Hayward
Yes, yep,
and
and then this is Rosanna.
where's
She
that?
is our fiscal officer.
Okay, great.
Yes. Yeah, so that's, they're packaged, yeah. And I'll have to do it.
Thank you.
So one is just, it's our mission statement that I wanted you guys to make sure you guys have the full agency. And then the other is an updated summary of services, which you guys already always get, but I've added one last line at the bottom, the UCares COVID-19. I wanted to add that information in, and I can go into some detail about that. But first, I just want to say thank you for always supporting Community Action Program. You guys have supported us for years and years, and we truly appreciate that. And so as you can see, this is the same thing you guys saw last year.
Sure, yeah.
Fuel, electric, weatherization,
Uh-huh.
food. The new one is UCares COVID-19. That is the money that the governor released to help with eviction, so back rent, back utilities, mortgages, forward rent. And so that money has started July 1 and it goes to December 31st. So as of today, there's been 29 households in Tilton that received help with either rental, utility, mortgage, and it's around $28,000, almost $29,000. So I added that in.
Okay, great.
And that will change again because again, this goes till December 31st, this program.
And I just want to note that the youth cares money is restricted, right? So it can only be utilized for certain items.
Right, okay, great.
And that's really the only change from last year for the services. That's the newest service that we have received.
Were you moving to another building or?
Yeah, it was.
Yes,
What's happening with that?
Yes, so you guys did receive a letter. So we did move to another building in Franklin, right, directly across the street from the town hall. And then unfortunately, due to COVID, we had to temporarily close that because we just didn't have staff to
Okay,
staff it.
yeah.
People started to work remotely. And then during that building flooded 2 different occasions, really terribly. And so we made the decision that we were gonna close that office. We started to get it fixed and then it flooded again. And so we did end up closing our Franklin office and we moved towns to different area centers. So Tilton and Sanbornton are the only 2 that are in Belknap County. So we moved them to the Laconia Area Center. And what that basically means is that food pantry, people can go to the Laconia food pantry. Anyone could have beforehand, but that's like the home base. And then for fuel and electric, because of COVID, our entire business model has changed. Normally, someone would come to the office, face-to-face interview. We help them walk them through the application process. That is all changed to mail and email. So now instead of being face-to-face, we call people. If someone needs help walking them through the application process, we do it over the phone. And so it looks different right now. And so the people of the residents of Tilton are receiving email or mail apps from the Laconia area rather than the Franklin area center. From a service point of view, they still are getting the same services: fuel assistance, electric assistance,
security loan, and then food pantry. So all of our centers are still open for food pantry. So people can come in during food pantry hours and pick up their food boxes. They then can drop off applications or paperwork if they have paperwork. It's just we don't sit down and do a face-to-face because we're trying to obviously protect them, protect our staff due to COVID.
So we're trying to bridge the gap and offer them some opportunity. They, you know, not necessarily.
It's hard to hear you over
No,
there, I'm sorry.
May I?
Yeah, because
Sure.
Yes, sure. So what we're trying to do is go ahead and bridge the gap. Obviously, our model has changed, so we want to also give, you know, the community the opportunity to go ahead and obviously go to the other location by providing, you know, we provide additional referral services to the other resources as well. So we understand that our model has changed, but we feel that we still get, we are able to reach that community as well in that location.
And I do have a handout that I'll just leave, it's just a pile. This is for that You Cares money. So I just wanted you guys to have this information because it's an online application. And so we're just trying to spread anyone that has anything related to COVID. You lost your job, you had to work from home, whatever. You have had issues related to COVID and you were behind on certain bills, we can help. And so we want some more notes. I'm gonna leave this pile with you guys because it explains exactly how to apply for it. We're really trying to reach more people and let people know that we can help. And we can do ongoing rental assistance on that. So if someone is still struggling, maybe their hours got reduced and they haven't been at full time, they can get continued rental support up until December 31st of this year. Sorry, side note, I just want to make sure we're trying to really help as many people as we can.
So,
Would it be possible to put it in town downstairs in town hall?
what was that?
Just put a bunch of those downstairs.
Sure, yeah, I'll take
Yeah, and I
it.
can actually send this to you so you can print more when you run out.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So it has been pretty much business as usual.
It has. It's just now people are either working from home, our staff, or they're in the office not seeing people face to face.
Okay, yeah.
And it's more phone work. It's more calling, you know, the person to say, hey, I need this information or, yeah, so it's pretty much the same except the phone calls. It's more fun, for sure.
Christine, do you have any questions?
Probably will. Does anybody else have questions?
Did you, oh, John?
Yeah. Do you work with our welfare director at all?
Yeah. Yep, we do. And actually, my Laconia manager is actually leaving at the end of this month. She just gave her notice. So we're hiring a new manager there. And one of the first things they'll do is reach out to all the welfare, all the town administrators and introduce themselves. But for now, I will be that interim person until we have a new manager. Yeah, but yeah, we work with all of them because if there's something that they can't help them with, usually we have a program or can refer them somewhere that can bridge the gap so that, you know, the burden doesn't fall completely on the town. We work together so that, you know, we can give the services we need and you guys are able to help with what you can.
And did you get any like PPP or whatever that is?
Yeah, no, we have, yes, we have received some PPP. We applied for the loan. We are not sure whether we will get loan forgiveness. We have not, you know, done that as of yet. Our hope is that we will, but it's not guaranteed. So to some degree, we don't count on it. We are hopeful, but we have not completed the loan forgiveness yet.
Okay.
And also with PPP, just, you know, I know, you know, those dollars obviously are also restricted, right? So it provides opportunity, but until we are aware that we're going to have loan forgiveness, you know, there's always a possibility that we will need to go ahead and pay it back.
But it's still funds that came in whether you pay it back or not, because I know the SBA has a really low interest rate.
They are funds that have come in.
Most people should be forgiven.
Yeah, and I hope we are.
Yeah.
I hope we are. But at this point, we don't know because we haven't completed our loan forgiveness application.
Any other questions from the board?
Was that the only things you got for COVID related other than this other grant?
No, we did receive some other COVID money as well. A lot of the money too was restricted. We were able to purchase, some laptops. the laptops, office supplies, equipment, things that would go ahead and, help us through these, obviously, these difficult times, right? But beyond that, again, those are restricted. It provides great opportunities, certainly. But at the end of the day, restricted dollars are restricted dollars, and you can only utilize it towards certain things. But we are so very grateful.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But,
anything that the government has sent you that can save you money, that can save us money.
Yeah.
we're
We like
looking-
you
we're looking
better.
for that,
yeah,
because
no,
we're all in a tough spot
absolutely,
right now. So
absolutely,
the clearer we understand what you get and how it
Yeah.
can help us,
Mhm.
we'd be
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah, no, a lot of the COVID money is actually, electronic, cell phones, laptops. Let's see, we got, funding $2,500 from the grandparents program, and that's for backpack sneakers and things along that line there. But we have gotten COVID money, but again, restricted. Has provided us great opportunity so we can, go into the community and, more or less work remotely from there, but
Is that mostly paycheck protection? Is that what the COVID
the
money is?
PPP.
No,
that's
there's
the-
other grants.
Yeah,
and stuff.
COVID money is, right.
This, yeah.
Yeah,
They're all over.
There's a lot of it.
Yeah.
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 Trillions.
So that gives you the opportunity to go ahead and commit those dollars to things that will help us through the, coronavirus difficult times, right?
One thing we had to really do with fuel and electric is we had to be ready to work from home. And that is not something our agency as a whole was ready for. That was a total, and we're still adjusting and getting there, we're moving there. But we were able to, laptops and all of that, that's just not something that we have in all of our offices, it's desktops,
Right.
and.
Yeah, you're not
and
that
huge
kind of
printers.
business where you're usually
Right.
face to face, and then,
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, with the opportunities that this has provided, if it weren't for COVID, we would not have been able to purchase the laptops that we were able to purchase. So we could continue to provide the services because, things have changed, right? And we needed to do some outside of the box thinking, and that meant, working remotely and, going out into the community and, when the community could not come to us, so.
So when you mentioned electricity or whatnot for working remotely, do they all get a stipend for, in
No,
addition, just
no.
a regular pay and?
Yeah, it is,
Okay.
it's regular pay, and, unfortunately, we can't go ever 100% remote, we run food pantries, and food pantry isn't remote, so,
Right.
we had some staff that were able to stay in the office, and we were able to stay open. The only center we did close was Franklin, and we attempted to reopen that, but then we flooded twice, and so that was just sort of, it was too crazy of a time to try to find another space. It took us a very long time to find that space. So yeah, we were able to stay open for all of our other centers with food pantry and making sure that the community had food when it was needed. And people are able to come to the food pantries much more often. There's more food available.
Good.
So there were, certain restrictions once a month here, once a month there, but that really is not the case anymore. People come, people need food, people get food. And we're still counting it so that we have data to provide to towns like you, so you have an idea. But some of the barriers have fallen, which is great.
So this sheet shows Tilton service people, right?
Yes, just Tilton residents.
Out of all these towns, who do you serve the most?
So out of Belknap, Merrimack County, I would say Laconia and Concord are our biggest two towns. And then, actually, hold on, I have something that has information on that.
They used to give us a comparison of the local towns.
Yes, I have that. I have that
Okay.
printed for you.
Great.
It's back over here. And you will see that some of the towns are different because the catchment is a little different now that you fall under Laconia, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you just want to take one and pass it around? Actually, I'm gonna take one. Thank you. So this just lets you know how many total services and then how much they provide us in time. And it's not all 38 towns, it's the ones that are covered in Laconia.
And while they're passing that out, I saw on your budget / actual comparison, you're hiring a new person and your utilities I don't know if that has to do with all the flooding issues, but is extremely higher than 2020.
Yes. Well, part of that is that this is a different building. So last year it was Franklin and this year it's Laconia. So it's a different building. So that's one of the reasons that the utilities are different.
So it's kind of estimating or? We really don't know?
Yes.
Okay.
And the new position, what ended up happening, so since we closed Franklin, some of the staff that were in that site became what we call outreach float. Just because we closed the center, it doesn't mean we don't have those applications to process. So we didn't want to get rid of positions. So they are technically a new position, but it's really taking the people that were in the Franklin Center, moving them to float so they can work from home if they need to. They can work in Laconia, they can go to Concord, and they're processing applications for us. So yes, it's a new position because it's a new title, but it was just us, making sure we weren't going to let anyone go in this time and say, hey, this is the position we need you now. Now that we don't have Franklin open, we need you to do this.
But did you service Franklin? Because I don't see them listed here.
So Franklin last year, Tilton fell under the Franklin Area Center. This year, you guys fall under Laconia, so that's why you're not seeing Franklin. Franklin now falls under the Concord Area Center. So that's, we took all the Franklins to town and we split them, tried to do it as close proximity as we could to the nearest center. So Tilton and Sanbornton, you guys went to Laconia. And then some of the others some of the outlying Danbury went to, Warner and that kind of thing. So that's why you see a different set of towns on what you just got. Where is that?
I only can see the assets for 18 and 19 fiscal years, so it looks like you maintain in your cash operating account over $1 million each time.
For the 3 budgets, yes. So our budget, what helps is electric assistance, fuel assistance, and then what we call area center funds, which is the town funding fund. Yes.
Okay.
And so we're very dependent on what the state passes for electric assistance. That varies. And then we're very, very dependent on the federal government on what we get for fuel. So the feds decide, and then it brings it into the state, and then the state decides what they're going to do with it. This year with fuel assistance, it's wonderful. Every home is going to be getting a $200 supplement. So if you get normally $1,000, you're going to get $1,200 this year. That's what the feds decided to do with this extra money. So it's really exciting. So yeah, it's usually around $1 million for all, and that's both counties, that's all 5 area centers, and that's the 3 programs together.
So did the feds give you extra funds for the other programs? The electric, they only gave you for the heating?
Yes, so the state does the electric, the feds do the fuel. So it's 2 totally different. And so they're, they don't really talk, mainly because New Hampshire does electric assistance much different than a lot of other states do. We actually do it very well. And so the state controls that. It's an advisory board that dictates what the percentages will be. Because with fuel, you get this much money for heating, but with electric, it's a discount off your monthly bill. So it's anywhere between 7% off up to 76% off. And in some years they change that and say, okay, we're going to go up to 80%. But usually electric usually stays about the same. It's really fuel that in past years they've cut it way down. This year they're giving the clients $200 more. They're not giving us more admin money.
Right.
That stays the same. It's more money for the services for the clients, which is where it should go anyway. So that's actually a really fantastic thing that people are going to be getting more money.
Why Belmont have so many services and they don't seem to pay at the same percentage as the other?
I'm sorry, who?
Belmont, they get 600,000.
Yep.
Two-thirds
So
of
I
that.
don't have their sheet, but one of the reasons you'll see some of them going so high and so low is weatherization.
Okay.
So weatherization can really make or break a budget.
Mhm.
So in this example, you guys got 37 this year, but last year you guys had almost 7,000.
Okay.
And so that's that's the one thing that really either ups it or downs it, because it's based on the need. So whoever's at the top of the list that need to have emergencies, that's who gets that funding. No, it doesn't matter where they're from. And I won't be able to quote anything else on that.
Yeah, well, if you could send us the comparisons from the other towns, it'd be great, so that we can see how we
The summary of services.
how we stack up with them.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Just gonna grab a pen to make a note.
Okay.
Any other questions? John?
Sure. With the food pantry being located in Laconia, a lot of people don't have transportation and buses are shut down. Are there any options that they would have to get these boxes of food or?
So we don't have any delivery. We don't have that as a service. There's just no funds, no staff, no anything. There are 2 pantries more local than Laconia. There's some in Franklin, which we provide the food to as well. Community Action provides the food. So they're able to go to those as well. So they're able to stay closer. They don't have to go to Laconia. But yeah, unfortunately at this time, there's no delivery kind of service. Obviously, if they are someone that will qualify for Meals on Wheels, that is an option. Meals on Wheels is still running in full force. But unfortunately, from the area center, we don't have any kind of means of delivering.
Is the Meals on Wheels also a community action program?
Yeah.
And I don't know if everybody's familiar with that, Meals on Wheels. A few people, and it's very beneficial because sometimes it's the only contact that some people have with the outside world.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you've heard of people calling and say, hey, so-and-so is not looking good, or somebody didn't answer their door, where are they?
And because the Meals on Wheels dropped down to 1 day a week during the peak of COVID because staffing and all of that. But what they were doing is wellness checks. So the staff that would normally deliver every day were calling all of those individuals and checking in and making sure. And so when they did deliver, they were giving them more food, frozen food, so that they would have food for the week. But so instead of being able to see them face to face for that 5 minutes, it was a phone call. And that seemed to work really well. I think that people really liked it. We're back up to 3 days a week now for delivery. And then on those other 2 days, again, people are getting phone calls. So I think that that's been,
Great.
One way that worked really well with COVID, because that's a huge, it's a service that needs to keep going.
Could you add on to that with emergency people who need food? That
So-
can't get to these.
Yep,
things?
that is not out of the question. One of the things is space and how much food they already have in their car, because they have a certain route. And so to add a full box, say they have 30 people they're delivering to, because that was something we thought about too, space. It's because these people are usually using their own cars. And so then it was, well, how do we choose how many boxes we put in? And by the end of the route, if you don't have any boxes, you're out of luck. And so we're still talking and figuring that out, but that is the reason that has not been implemented, is that we just don't have the space for the boxes. Because the food boxes people just think it's a box. It's a lot of food. It's great. And so space.
Maybe adding days on or something.
Something,
like that.
yeah.
Okay, we'll take any questions from the public?
I have a couple. With the food program that you're speaking about, is that the commodities program?
Yes, USDA, yep.
So the commodities program is the one that moved to Laconia?
Yeah, well, it's always been there. It's just the Tilton residents can access that pantry. Well, they can access any pantry.
I'm sorry, can you talk to the mic, because when you talk and turn to the camera and look at me, I can't hear you.
So yes, that's the pantry that they can access, but they can access any of our pantries throughout the 2 counties.
So they can't access any of your pantries throughout, because then they're not getting their commodities.
Well, every pantry has donated food as well. If you go to our pantry, you're going to get food regardless of whether it's technically USDA commodity food or if it's donated. And since COVID, again, the once a month has sort of gone away, and if you need food, you get food. So they can go to Concord if they need it, or Suncook, or Laconia. I don't know that anyone's going to drive up to Warner. It's a little bit of a hike, but if someone wanted to, they could.
And why again are Tilton residents not going down to Franklin?
Because the area center closed
But how long is it going to be closed for?
indefinitely at this point.
Wasn't it open just recently?
It hasn't been open since I don't know the exact date, right around April 1st. Due to staffing, we had no staff that could be in the office. So we closed it temporarily. Staff were working from home. And then in June, it was flooded. We started to repair it, and then again, and after the second time, we had determined that at this point right now, the best thing for us to do is to close it, because we didn't have staff to staff it anyway. So that's why we closed it, took all the towns, and they all fall under different areas.
Where are you located in Laconia?
121 Belmont Street, we are right down the street from the community college.
So are you at the senior center?
Yes, no, I'm sorry, no, senior center is right downtown. We are at the Lake building, it's right on 121 Belmont Road, which is.
106?
Yes, which is also 106. Yeah.
Okay. So if the seniors that are so used to getting their commodities and they can't get the commodities any longer, are you allowing someone else to go in their stead to pick them up for them?
Absolutely.
Is anybody else making any provisions to get meals to them if they can't go?
I don't know, honestly. I think if we are aware that people need, we do whatever we can to help that situation. But we're, like I said, we're not able to do deliveries. People can come pick up instead for someone else. But as of right now, we can't.
How many seniors in the town of Tilton do you give out commodities to?
I don't have that number broken down for seniors with me. I don't have it. We don't necessarily count by senior, but we count by, town and how many people in your family, and that's how we count. Yeah.
How many people in the town of Tilton do you give commodities to?
So for USDA food, it's cases. It's actually not. Sorry, can you hear me? It's cases rather than food. So because with Franklin Area Center was open, you guys know we did not have a food pantry. We were in the town hall. When we moved over to the new building, we started to very slowly, and then it flooded. So actually, you're not going to see that this year because we didn't have a food pantry at the Franklin Area Center. So people weren't coming to us anyways to get food when we were right downtown. People were going to First Fruits or the Northfield, the other pantries that are in this area. So people actually weren't coming to Franklin this past year or the year prior. When we were over on Elkin Street, that's when people came to us. We had the full pantry, the full nice big building.
But you weren't there for a very long time.
Where? I'm sorry.
Oh, over in the office where Gail was.
We were in the town hall for a little over a year.
That was last year.
I think one of the main complaints now that we have, and we never had before, was that our seniors and disabled people cannot get their commodities that they're so used to getting year after year with community action program. And I'm a huge fan of community action. However, since this change has come about, it's discombobulated a little bit, and nobody can seem to give me a straight answer on how to get this done. You can't get drivers to get it, and you can't get the meals to them. They don't qualify for the meal program, yet they qualify for the commodity program, yet they can't get to the commodity program. So then what happens when you have all the commodities in Laconia and none of the Tilton people go to pick up the commodities? Then what happens to the commodities?
Right. Well, we haven't had that situation yet, so I don't have an answer.
I'm asking that question. Do you have an answer to that question?
I do not. I don't know what would happen to those foods. One thing we can look into, And again, this would be something we'd have to look into, is there's a senior center. And so maybe partnering with a senior center and saying, hey, can we have food boxes there?
Mhm.
I mean, yes, people would still have to get there, but it's closer, you know, than it would be in Laconia, than it would be even in Franklin. So that is something.
I can't hear what this person is trying to tell us. So I'm sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I just can't hear what you're saying.
That's okay. So I'm saying that maybe we can partner with the Tilton Senior Center, because that's in town. And maybe that's how we get boxes of food there for people to be able to pick up, because it is a little bit closer for people that maybe can't get a ride to Laconia or even to Franklin. So that's something I can look into. You know, the director of our senior centers I work very close with. And so that is definitely something I can bring up to her and see if we could work something out like that. Since we're already in, we're here.
And have the commodities there?
Yes, that would be something I could propose.
Well, that would be a storage issue. Do they have to be refrigerated?
Some of it does, but a lot of it is shelf ready, like shelf food.
Okay. Well, I guess then we'll be talking. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben. I think that's, you know, one of the biggest problems with COVID is that people don't want to get near each other. And that's why we're having the delivery issues, why you don't have the bus running. And so it's a time to be creative and hopefully you guys can work something like that out.
And again, storage issue is a huge piece everywhere, because now we're getting more food, which is fantastic, but not if we can't store it.
Right.
And so community action as a whole is working very diligently right now on our own storage issues, because Belknap Merrimack, we provide food for USDA throughout the state. And so you can imagine how that presents itself. So absolutely, I will speak with the director, and Pat, I can get back to you.
Well, I think if you're going to be using the senior center, I think we'll be talking as well. So, because I'm associated with the senior center as well.
Great. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, great.
Awesome. Well, I will send the summaries of services.
Thank you.
To Janice, and you guys can have them.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
And continued support.
Yeah. Okay, I think we should go on to the minutes.
Have a good night.
Thank you too.
Is there issue with not reading the pandemic procedures tonight? I didn't have it tonight. I didn't have it here, so I didn't think of it.
At this point.
Hey, Janice? On page 5.
Yeah.
At the very bottom, there's like a big gap of space,
Right, I saw that too.
and I don't have an answer to what I asked, so I don't know if there's something missing there.
Don't have my notes here, so I will double check it though and make an adjustment. It might have been a time when I was tired. It's about a couple of times, I don't know.
Well, Jay Davis must have answered that.
I'll have to get back to you on that, Christine.
Okay.
On page 7, I'm up at the top, that second paragraph. Towards the end, Deborah has been a Tilton resident for over 50 years.
We're on page 7.
Page
15
7.
years, I mean.
She was a selectman in Northfield a short time ago.
I think she did say it was 50 years.
No, I think she said over 5 years.
Okay, I'll make that correct.
I mean, I'd listen to the
Check
tape
that,
again.
yeah.
It's definitely not 50 years.
I think she's actually been in this area 50 years.
Yes, but she hasn't been a Tilton resident for over 50
No,
years.
right.
Because she was a selectman in Northfield.
Right. She's lived in both towns.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's
probably
definitely homegrown to
Tilton
this
North-
Tilton Northfield
Northfield
area.
resident, yeah.
You know, a Tilton resident, she has not been for 50 years. I mean, I went to school with her, so she's been here for a while. She's a very nice person.
Would a correct statement be Deborah has been a Tilton Northfield resident for over 50 years?
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that would be a good way to put that. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Brings the two communities together.
Make a motion to accept the minutes. I'll second. Discussion?
You make a motion to accept the minutes as amended, because she's gonna check on a couple things.
Well, I thought we might talk about
Oh,
more
okay.
more amendments.
I would have
Yeah.
seconded.
Yeah. So we will have
So I'm sorry, who made the motion?
And I
Yes,
second. And I second.
who, did I make the motion?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, that's right. Okay. Ted
And I
seconded.
didn't hear if it was
And-
amended or.
And now we are in discussion, and we should include all the points that were discussed earlier as amendments to the motion.
Yeah.
And then are there any other questions?
So we're in discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Myself on that one.
Page 9. Okay, Dawson said that in the past, this was a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. So there's more explanation to this. I appreciate you trying to get the minutes abbreviated, but there was more of a discussion with this and it's missing here. And the point was that the Board of Selectmen announced a meeting as well. So they were in an official meeting when they were here.
This year or in the past?
In the past, it wasn't.
In the past.
This year, we didn't. It was.
So it was unclear whether or not they did that this year. And the point I was making that, you know, a chairman or a budget committee, not this one, I don't think, could not allow public input. If we have a busy night, we can do that. We can say, we're not gonna have any public input tonight. We're just too busy. Do you understand the point I'm trying to make?
No, but I can go back to the video and see what it was that I missed on that, so that I could get the full flavor.
Yeah, my take on this is that it's a budget committee meeting with no notice that selectmen are also meeting with us. So they're certainly welcome as the public.
Right.
And we encourage them to come here. But I'm just saying, this is a budget committee meeting.
Right, but in the past, budget committees have agreed to the joint meeting.
Okay, I don't know.
So it wasn't just a budget committee meeting. The point I'm trying to make is, we have not made that decision. This budget committee has not made that decision to have joint meetings with the selectmen when the outside agencies are here.
So to that point, to your point, Catherine, would it have been that the Board of Selectmen would have approached, in this case, the chair, to ask or request?
They would approach the budget committee board, not just the chair.
Yeah.
And we would have that discussion, chaired by our chair, and decide whether or not we would have those joint meetings.
Sure.
But
we can.
as I said last week,
If the selectmen
you
want to
know, we
approach
are
us-
allowing that to take place. We have, I think, an exceptional
To
chair.
my knowledge, did that happen this year?
No.
No.
No. So.
That's what I was just trying to say.
Okay.
Okay, so I have some questions. Just on page 8, Christine had asked about the rec council. You had asked for some information.
Where are we?
The bottom of 8. What did they do with the money in 2020? The full funding
Yes,
didn't
I
seem
did ask
justified, and that you wanted more information. We haven't got any information. Did you?
We got an email,
Yes.
big summary. I haven't read it yet, but I don't know if
It's in your folder. It should be in your folder.
Yeah, I printed it.
Okay.
It looks like single space.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Is it-
She said she lost her notes, so she was trying to figure
Okay,
out what we were asking for. But I'll look at it when
all right.
we go to look at it.
And then,
So we're all set on that one?
yes, we have that. Great. And did we get the CASA information? Is that-
Yeah.
That's in this pile? Okay.
And then we also got Franklin nurses or something.
BNA.
And we haven't got a breakdown from Old Home Day. I would ask for,
I think she clarified that.
Breakdown of
saying That
costs.
it would be the same as 2019.
well, no, actually breakdown of costs. I don't think that was in there.
Was that asked for?
Huh?
Did we ask for that?
I asked for that here. Asked if they have a breakdown of costs. What did they say?
What page are you on?
That is the bottom of 6. I just didn't think that
She said she
the page we had a good breakdown of costs.
Because they didn't, and that's what she made the comment that because they didn't have it last year,
Oh,
that you would have to look at the 2019, and I think you said something like, yeah, I.
okay, yeah, that's right. I could do that, yeah. Look at 2019.
So, yeah, and then I just had the same question about your comment. Seemed to be an empty space.
Yeah, taking the minutes was very challenging. There were a lot of people talking over
Yes,
each other.
yeah, I'm sorry about
And,
that.
No, it happened and it's in the past, but it was challenging, so I maybe took too many breaks. I was typing.
Now, PPE loans are always restricted.
No. PPP is just a COVID type from the federal government, and in the original form, it was to pay for payroll, but you had certain percentage, you can pay for your mortgage payment or rent or certain things, but the majority was to keep people employed. So let's say the person only comes in part-time, they would be still getting their full-time pay because the PPP came in. They have to meet the regulations that they applied for, a certain amount of payroll, and they have to pay it to payroll. I think it was like 3% could be to other things, but they were restricted, and now they've expanded that where we only had a PPP was a certain time frame, so everybody was hurrying up paying all their employees during this small frame out of the PPP, to use the funds and also pay. Because I know people in my office, they work remote, but they have kids, so you can't really, and they still got their full-time pay. But they expanded it where you didn't have to use it up as quickly, which people already had, used it up, and they did open it up one more time for applications for the smaller businesses, because all the big businesses took all the money right away, so there was
Right.
more. And I know the loan forgiveness is 50,000 and under now is automatically going to be forgiven, and looking through the regulations for those that are above that, it doesn't appear, the only way someone is going to have to pay that back as a 3% SBA loan is if they didn't use it the way it was supposed to be used. So, and I know that, I hate to say this because tax returns in some of these grants and PPPs are going to come into play because it was based on, say your payroll was this, and then your tax return is going to show payroll this. And so they may collect on that, and that has to do with a bunch of different programs that they're going to look at the tax returns.
And then, it seems like Cap was saying there's a lot of the money was restricted. Was that a different thing? Is that PPP?
Yeah, she was
or-
saying the only restricted monies that I'm aware, well, some of them are, people in the medical field got an extra stipend for being on the front line. In the beginning, that they got $600 extra, then it went down to $300. They're no longer getting that, but the facility had to give it to the individuals, so they didn't everybody's pay got a little extra for taking those chances. Because it's hard to keep people in the medical field during COVID working, because they're all afraid or whatnot. And then she had said there was some other grants. There's different nonprofit grants. If they say you're getting this grant and you have to do, I don't know, laptops, let's say, then they would have to use it for laptop. But they're restricted in a way, yeah.
Okay,
But payroll is the biggest part of almost everybody's
Right.
funds. And I hate to say this, but this is our one chance to actually save money. And sometimes it's hard for me to vote because, your heart wants to say something different, and you got to vote as representing the town and not how you feel, unfortunately. And next year, all this may come right back up and we're going to have to vote more money in. So this is the one chance we have to save.
Well, just like I said, I think if they've got the extra money, we shouldn't have to
Yes.
pile it on. And we need, people need relief here too, so.
But what they did is, I'm sorry, John.
Well, I just did point of order. I didn't know if we were still on the minutes.
yeah, kind of.
Oh, he was
Okay,
asking.
I was
Well,
just
yeah,
asking
some
because
questions.
Yeah, I
of
don't
these
get
other
too far
questions.
away because
Everybody was in these, are talking about PPE and PPP, and I'm not understanding what's restricted, what's not, because in here, people are saying they're restricted also. And I was just trying to get some clarification from Christine, since she works in the field, about that.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Okay,
You're welcome.
so all in favor of accepting the minutes?
As amended?
That's amended, yes. Aye.
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 Okay. All right, so
Bill, just to add on to that discussion, just so everybody knows that even though they had the funds and it's extra money, some went a little crazy and did other things with the money they would have spent on payroll, got equipment or things like, one of them was saying something they didn't have a chance to do. So, that might have to be taken into consideration.
I would like all of us to go back and review the minutes and all the discussions we've had about these groups so that next week we can vote on things. I just feel we should take a chance to look at it and understand it, because I haven't had a chance to read.
Right, all the three
Stuff.
emails that we got for the new
Yeah,
stuff, I haven't
yeah.
looked at.
I want to look at that. I haven't really gone over these things enough for me to really look at. But I did, I went to a site to find out what companies here are actually getting money. And I think somewhere I made a note. I can't find now. But there's a whole bunch of them that got, like
Lots of money, and they didn't
Waypoint
disclose
got
it.
1.1 up to $3 million.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of them. DNA, I think, had some kind of big grant.
I'm
So,
thinking
and I'm not sure where that is in their budget.
it's not. I mean, they
So-
declare it when we ask. They didn't put it in.
I mean, that's confusing me because we asked for that specifically in the beginning.
That's why I look at the operating account, because it's always much higher, and I'm like, oh, there's the money sitting right in there.
So I
But if
think
we wait till
we should-
next week, we
we-
could probably vote on this week's stuff, because only one we needed stuff from, right? For this week, the four.
I think one of the things, if I may, is some of these, like youth assistance program, Waypoint, community action program, that a lot of input from our welfare director would be really helpful.
That would be
Oh,
great
that's
to
right.
have
We
that
said
next.
last week, too.
We should do that next week. We should,
Can we see if she can come?
that would be a great point. Yes, thank you.
That's right, because I
What
think
they
you
say
said
that
that
they're
last week.
doing and how are they cooperating and how are they keeping our welfare budget down?
Mhm. That does help, right?
Is real.
She does a really good job with that, actually.
She does, yeah. Yeah, so, her and Tim maybe, and
She usually speaks off the record because. some of the
It's
stuff is-
non-public usually.
Yeah, so we have to vote that.
okay, so we could have that,
I'll give her a call.
Billy,
yes.
when you have Heather in, will I be able to join in to listen to her points on the agencies as a part of that, or no?
I vote in.
You mean having a dual meeting with the selectmen?
We can post it, yes, certainly, but I just want to be able to have the selectmen have the ability to listen in on Heather's, otherwise we have to invite her to our meeting and twice.
As an elected official,
Right,
the selectmen that attended that meeting would be bound by the non-public, and if they divulged it, they could do it.
right.
So we would have to have a non-public session before we open, is that it? Is that how that works?
How can we do that
Well,
with the
we still
remote thing?
Come to the meeting, official business, non-public.
What we should do is then have a half an hour of non-public before we open this meeting.
We could have the meeting, but in a non-public, invite whoever you wish.
That's right.
Provided that anybody who wish to speak before the selectmen. But you can invite whoever you wish to be part of the public.
No, but I mean,
It's an invitation.
non-public, we won't be broadcasting.
Yes, you would not.
Right. What I'm saying is that at 7, we have a non-public session, and if the selectmen want part of that, that's
They would have to
okay.
physically come.
We would actually do a meeting of the selectmen, a joint meeting, selectmen and budget committee, which has been done before, and have a non-public, and so start the actual budget meeting at 7:30. Have a non-public from 7 to 7:30.
You have to open your public meeting to have a non-public, so the budget committee meeting would have to start at 7. Then
Right.
you would go into a non-public session, so you would post it in your minutes. And, not have people come between that time, you're gonna have a non-public,
In the
just,
agenda, we post that.
right, so it'd
Okay.
be convenient, if you don't wanna have them sitting here for half an hour, no reason.
And if you have to not allow them in here, so
But we wouldn't have to have a joint meeting to allow a selectman to attend the non-public. If the selectmen wanted to, you don't have to hear anyway. If you only have 2 selectmen, you're not in a meeting. You couldn't have a meeting.
or we could invite the selectmen to a non-public on the 28th from 7:02 to 7:30, and whoever doesn't show up, that's okay, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
The public as an invitee to attend a non-public could attend. I mean,
No.
you can invite.
No, because what she's
no,
just.
non-public means non-public.
Well, if you had a problem with some neighbors or something, and you have 5 people that you wish to do this, at a meeting that are general public people, but they're resolve a dispute of some type that.
Well, in this situation, we're just talking about town agencies, so I think we kept it to the selectmen and the budget committee would be appropriate. I don't see any other people that might be interested, do you?
No, and that's what I was saying is invitees.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a topic that you should open to the general public.
Right. It would strictly be the welfare.
Right.
The
You
welfare.
can't
Right.
budget as a joint meeting with the selectmen because they have to be completely separate from the selectmen.
Oh, you can have a joint meeting, you can have a joint meeting anywhere.
You can have a joint meeting with the selectmen and have Heather give us a presentation on the outside communities and how they affect the communities. We've done that in the past almost every year. And we've done that in a non-public session.
Well, I
So
would
if
move that we invite the selectmen as part of a non-public meeting October 8th from 7:02 to 7:30 with the health director.
If she's willing to attend or able
Yeah.
to attend.
If
Step 1 is asking Heather.
Yeah.
I'll second your motion.
Second. Any more discussion? All
And
in
you do
favor?
non-public with people doing remote?
Yes.
No, we would not do. Oh,
I thought that was.
So you
Yeah,
can
makes it
have,
To be
public.
here, yeah.
Yeah.
you can have those, the budget committee members or selectmen members remote, but the public would not be attending the public session.
So Tim can block
So you
anybody
can-
So you
publicly.
could be remote if you want, and the selectmen.
Okay.
Okay. Will that work, Tim?
Yes, yeah, I can actually set up a separate conference just for your non-public. So it wouldn't be accessible to the public.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, sounds like we don't need a roll call. I made the motion, and Catherine seconded.
Peace, man.
Okay, so I feel good. We're all gonna study what we have, or did you wanna
I guess
vote?
one thing, we said that we were going to table the Old Home Day base until we found out there was one piece of information.
Okay, well, I did find,
who they asked funds from?
Yes, whether or not they had mailed that out.
Yeah, Deborah brought me the 2 sheets of the last 2 years of 200 different businesses that they solicit. 3M is the first one on those sheets. And that's the one she said, that's what they use when they stuff envelopes. There's somewhere here.
I saw a copy of it.
And I think she brought it to the selectmen, yes.
Yeah. So
So there's like 300 people they solicit.
It's like 200 and something.
And it included manufacturing.
Oh, yes, it was 3M. 3M was the top.
because 3 is a number, it's alphabetical.
Yes, yeah, and that's the way computers work.
Number
Okay.
1.
Okay.
3 was number 1.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah, it's right here.
Can I get a copy of that, really?
We'll give it to Janice and she can make copies for you. Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's okay, I'd like to make a motion to fund Old Home Day at the requested amount of $3,000.
I'll second.
I thought we did that.
No, we were going to wait for this information, which we just have, which,
We tabled it. It was in the minutes last week.
right, right.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that part. What are you looking for?
No, they're just discussing, we had tabled a vote on Old Home Day
Yeah, oh.
because of this information, which I said I would get from Deborah. And
There you go.
we'll give that to Janice.
Okay.
That's fine. Anybody want to see?
Yeah, I'd like to see it, please.
I'll look it up in the-
And are we in discussion now?
Yes.
I'd just like to say they are the only one to return funds. Only one.
Yeah, yeah. No, they're a good organization, yeah.
Yeah.
There is a lot on
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad that they don't get more. I don't really know who actually sends the money besides my $40, but.
Well,
do.
they're just doing mailers, they need more
Right.
people, they need,
Well, they- yeah.
follow up with phone calls, and, I mean, that's how you solicit, but,
Right.
I mean, that's why I was trying to say, Dick, why don't you join and help out?
Yeah.
But
here.
Okay, is there anything else?
Their committee before.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Oh, we gotta
We have
vote
a
on the
motion.
table.
I have-
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, yeah.
And I have a question.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You-
So all in favor of
We use.
$3,000 for Old Home Day?
Yes.
Aye.
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 I declare it unanimous. Okay,
The record shows.
I missed a
does
minute.
anybody else have anything else that you want?
I just have a question. So, I was referring to my budgeting book.
Oh, we
Notice
did
it was
vote,
from
yeah.
2017.
Gotta get with the final. Come on.
Oh, yeah. And I guess we don't have any newer.
Do we actually get those?
Yeah, if we want new ones.
I've never had one of those.
Huh?
I was like, I thought it was yours.
You've never had one of these?
No.
Well, I've got one from 2011, 2013.
I don't believe I got one of those.
Wasn't there something we received?
The other thing is
Email
I
direct-
emailed a general practices of
I saw
the
that.
boards, which is very good. And I'm surprised that we didn't get one of those. I should have had one last year. I never saw one of those. But we should all make sure that the town gets all the boards a copy of that. Because it is very important. It really highlights the importance of being civil as well as how the boards work.
It was good.
Yeah, that
was good updating and reading.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed it.
Bill?
So my question is, does anybody else want a budgeting book? or
I'll
new
take an
one?
updated copy if you have it.
I don't think we have any. We should order some.
So
I'll
can
find
we
out with a.
ask for,
Sure.
So, does everybody need one? Should I assume?
It'd be nice to
everybody
get an
Yeah, we can
up to
get,
date one.
yeah, we should get an up-to-date one for all the members and yourself.
Other business, Bill?
and if we get any more information from Things we might have requested tonight, you can just send them to email us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope it worked well that I sent it when I received it. I mean, I know that time is, very valuable to everybody on the board, but.
No, thank you.
This way it's gonna get you.
Other business?
There was, one of the emails was about the Red Cross.
Oh, right.
Oh, yes.
So do we even want to entertain this
Well,
or do you want
let's
to table it?
Just read it and we'll discuss it next week. I know last year we didn't fund them because no one showed up to talk about it. And,
Well, I have one question. Should we even consider it since they missed their deadline for applying?
pardon me?
Should we even consider them since they missed our deadline for applying?
We didn't send them a letter. Let me start with that. That was one of the, because they were not funded last year, the decision was made that they should not receive a letter for this year. I mean, for next year, 2021. So maybe they felt, this process usually takes place in October. Maybe that's when they decided they should send me a letter. I'm not sure.
Was our deadline posted online?
I guess,
We usually
Yeah.
don't.
Was that posted, do you know,
Yeah.
Janice?
Probably
The
not.
deadline?
It was posted in, I'm not sure it was. I have to think about that.
I don't remember
It's in
seeing it.
every one
but
of our meetings we talked
It
about
would, it'd have to
too.
be on the town website, right?
Right, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
I
Because
guess
we
there's so
usually
much,
don't consider applications that are past the deadline.
I guess, and the way I feel is, do we need to go out and solicit people to ask us for money?
That's right.
Oh, no.
Because I think if
No,
we
that's
said,
not our job. No,
Yeah.
we're here
and
to,
I think
Yeah.
they should seek and be more organized to track that stuff.
I mean, we can just discuss that and put it in the minutes of how we
Next week,
deal with
yeah.
that.
Good idea.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Anybody interested in looking at through one of my old budgeting books before I throw them away?
No,
Ted, you
thanks.
want an old one?
I want a new one.
Just give me an idea of
I
what's
have
in there.
one.
I do have one.